Hi, I'm Ztarli, and in this video I use the Symmetry and Gradient tool to create interesting borders and backgrounds for my artwork. To use the Symmetry tool, you need to make sure you have either the paintbrush or the eraser tool selected, and then you click on the Symmetry icon at the top and select how you'd like your symmetry to work. You have two options to choose from the top. You have mirror and rotate. Mirror is better for square objects and rotate is like a clock, so it's better for circular objects. You also have a couple of options in the bottom panel that let you choose what happens when you draw. So you can have clip strokes on, which just means you can't draw outside the border of each section. You've also got the lock option, which locks the symmetry in place so you can't accidentally shift it, and you also have the option to increase or decrease the amount of sections that are duplicated. You can use this with the smooth tool as well, so I've got my smooth tool on. You can see here you've got this little circular dot in the middle of the screen which moves the position of the symmetry where it sort of goes from, and then you've got the round arrow that actually spins it around. As you can see, I grabbed it and spun it around so that my symmetry was crossing the two corners. Once you have it set up the way you like, you can simply just start drawing on it. So you can see, because I've got the rotate option on at the moment, that it just goes in a circular motion for each section I've got. So I've just changed it to mirror because I do want to make a square image here. So I'm just going to have 4 different sections that will just duplicate in those 4 areas. So basically all I really need to draw in is in one of these sectioned off areas, but because I don't have the clip stroke on, it means I can freely move between the areas and it'll just duplicate those lines into the other areas smoothly. So I prefer not to have the clip stroke on whilst using this tool. Now I want to make a net pattern across my square, so I've increased the amount of sections, and as you can see I've drawn one line and it's made very quickly a net pattern on this. And then I just paint over those sections, and I basically this picture only took me about 5 minutes to do in total, so it's quite a handy tool if you don't need things to be asymmetrical. If you're quite happy to have symmetrical objects, it's a very powerful tool for doing these kinds of things. You can make some really interesting patterns just by fooling around with the symmetry. If you want something like some interesting designs, then you might want to do this to make sort of, sun designs for rock carvings or something. Or if you want something psychedelic, it's really easy to make psychedelic patterns in this. As you can see, I've just been drawing lines outwards in different colors, and very quickly I have something very strange and bright and colorful with a bunch of lines, and it only took me like a minute. I'm now going to switch to making a circular object. So I want to make a ring shape that I can use for avatars or icons on things like Discord or Twitter or something like that. So I've set up my symmetry and I'm going for the radial again, the rotate again, and I just want to make a vine pattern for this one. So I'm just drawing in that little wedge shape, just the one, and it will duplicate it to all the other wedge shapes. Now I have made an error here. When I drew my template, I made it too close to the edge. So you can see that from the corners there's plenty of space, but on the edge I haven't left enough space, and it is actually going to be cut off. So I will actually resize my template circle and then redraw it so that none of the pattern I'm drawing actually touches the edge, so there'll be space around it and I'm free to use it for whatever kind of thing I'd like to use. I find this tool particularly handy for me since I'm absolutely useless at drawing circular objects. So with the symmetry tool, because I only have to draw the one part and then it will duplicate it, it means it'll be perfectly circular, and I can use it for a border on icons or avatars that are circular. Now I'm going to add some different patterns on here, so I'm changing it to mirror so you can see how when I paint on the purple petals here, how it interacts differently to the rotate. So you can see that there's sort of two in the middle instead of being all exactly the same space apart. So you can have some interesting effects doing it that way. To finish this border up, I am just going to add a focal point to the lower right. So I'm going to draw a little purple flower just so you have something to look at on the border. This is just an extra step you don't have to do. It's perfectly fine to just have a border without something on the edge of it. This is just something I thought I'd do as an example. If I was going to use this as my icon border, then I probably would spend a bit more time on the flower and maybe have a couple of different ones there. But this is fine for an example for now. Now, it's important when saving this image that you make sure the transparent background toggle is on, so that when you save it, it will just be the ring without any background, and you can easily import it into another image so you can put your character in the middle of it. This next part will be to create a background inside of the ring, so it's sort of like a window to another world, I guess. Now I'm lucky I already had the circle there for my image, and so I've just used the fill tool to fill in the circle I had, and I've just created layers above it that only interact with the layer below, and I'm just painting on top of them a cloud scene. If you don't have this feature, you will just have to lock your layer instead and draw directly onto that painted layer. I'm now going to use the gradient tool to create a sun in my little window to another world. Click on the fill bucket and select gradient, then select the color you want to start with. Pull a line out and you'll see you have two different dots here with two different colors. You can click on either dot and change the opacity or color of them. So you can see I've selected no opacity on one end and a color on the other, so that the gradient gradients to a color from the background rather than any new color. You can also change it to a circular pattern, which is what I've done here because I'd like it to be a sun. You can see I'm just changing different colors to see what kind of effect it has, and I have added an additional color by clicking on the line at the bottom and selecting the color I want. You can move the range of the color by drawing those dots up and down, and you can change the opacity at any time. So it's quite a powerful tool to use and very easy to manipulate and change. So you can just have a fill around until you get it right. So I didn't want my sun to be too big, so I've just drawn that second dot a bit closer up, and it's gradient to the color on the background. I'm now going to show you all the different modes you can select from whilst doing the gradients. So there's lots of different things you can fiddle around with. As I said before, clicking the line at the bottom will introduce a new color, which you can select what color that will be. And drawing the circles on the line changes the positioning of it. You also can change the gradient to radial. You can change this weird pattern or you can change it to a square pattern. You can also change it so that the color is repeated or reflected. So here's the repeat, and if you draw the lines closer together, it will repeat it more and more and more. So you can get quite interesting patterns doing things that way. You can get hypnotized doing things that way. But yeah, just have a play around with the gradient tool. There's lots of different things you can do with it, and it's quite a fun tool to use and very easy to use in this program. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Here's some of the pictures and borders I made using the Symmetry tool, and I just imported images over top of the clear background pictures that I created. Well, thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. Bye!